All right, guys, let's hit it. What's going on, guys? Excited to be back and, talking about Brandon Inniss. And Inniss is a guy that has his sophomore highlights on tape. So, meaning that we're going to watch him as a sophomore. And, this guy, I mean, the more you watch him, the more you see why he's a five-star talent. He has the ability to track the football, and he has the exact same body type as Jamar Chase. He reminds you of watching Burrow to Jamar Chase because he has great speed. He can really separate, and he catches the football deep. So, look at him right here. He has outstretched arms, and he's able to corral the football along the sideline. It just reminds me of like a Jamar Chase where as I look at him as a sophomore, he has good speed. It's not like his body type is like unbelievably freaky in terms of strain for like looking like a DK Metcalf, but he's a guy that just gets open down the field and, can break away and make really, contested catches. And at LSU, I mean, it's funny, in Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, looks even more shifty than he looked at LSU. But, the question for Inniss is going to be like his cutting ability, and I think he certainly has the ability to do that. I mean, you look at a very successful college receiver that was taken in the first round, it's Chris Olave. And Chris Olave has this type of body type, a wiry 6-foot body type. And Chris Olave also, when the ball is in the air, does a sensational job of getting his feet down, inbounds, and making plays. So I really think that this receiver is kind of like the Olave prototype for Ohio State. And that's what I really think when I look at this kid, Inniss. I think he's a very good receiver, obviously very highly productive player. All right, you look at him there, that's a really good throw. But, I mean, the quarterback, when you have Devin Brown throwing you the ball, which is going to happen in the next few years, I mean, this should be a very explosive offense. I know that they also have McCord. I mean, you have Noah Rodgers, and then you add Inniss to this core. And also the guy that they got from Chicago, who doesn't have huddle tapes. So, I mean, he's a good route runner. Like, is he the greatest route runner? Ironically, out of this class, I think Bryson Rodgers is the best route runner in the class. I think Bryson, even though he's the fourth receiver, I think he can end up being, one of the better receivers. And then you have Noah Rodgers, who's unfair as a leaper, as just pure athlete. I think even Noah Rodgers, I mean, if you're ranking the receivers, they're all great. I'd say that this guy maybe is the third best, but he still would be a number one on 99% of teams. So I still think he could be a first-round draft pick, this guy right here, because he just sees the game so well. He has very good feel, and he's very reliable at catching the football, and he has very good speed. He has good speed to separate, and the way that he tracks the deep ball is really impressive. That's a really good throw. I mean, this quarterback's a good quarterback. I don't know where he's going or whatnot or how young he is, but that's a really good throw too. Good throw and catch. So, I mean, this is a really fun program. This is a good program at IMG. All right. So, yeah, Brandon Inniss is really, really good. And Ohio State is unfair. And I view Devin Brown very highly. I love the highlights of Devin Brown. I love the demeanor. I think he could be the next C.J. Stroud. I think it's unfortunate for McCord and the other guys on their roster. I think that they're going to end up transferring. I mean, it's up. Carnell Tate, I mean, I haven't watched a lot of them, but you look at Noah Rodgers and Bryson, they're going to be probably the two top guys, but I think you could still have three receivers. So if you're another team, looking at Ohio State, you have to realize, because it's so tough for all four guys to eat like they did at Alabama. So I mean, because Jamison Williams was an Ohio State guy as well, which was absolutely remarkable that they have Smith and Jigba. They had, just in this class, they had Garrett Wilson, okay, they had Olave, and then they had Jamison Williams. So 10, 11, 12 were Ohio State, and I view Noah Rogers and Bryson and Bryson, I think it's two Rodgers, Noah Rogers and Bryson Rogers. I view them as first round, as top 15 guys as well. So now you're looking at a guy in Inniss that could be, a top 15 level receiver as well. Certainly a first rounder. If Jahad Doxson's like the 16th overall pick, it's not too hard to imagine this guy being, a first-round pick. So Ohio State, I mean, they are just so loaded at wide receiver, it's not even funny. I mean, if they got 2 out of the 4, it's ridiculous. They have all 4 of these guys. I mean, Ryan Day, his offense, I mean, I know he went to a national championship. I know he beat Clemson a couple of years ago with Justin Fields. So I know that he has been in, the playoffs multiple times. I'll tell you, Ryan Day, when you have, and by the way, transfer quarterbacks are going to compete with a Devin Brown after. So you're going to get a full year, and I think Devin Brown's just as good as Quinn Ewers. I mean, Ohio State in the next 3 years, the expectation is in one of the next 3 years, it's to win a national championship, whether it's this year with C.J. Stroud or when these guys are freshmen. Actually, I'll put it to 4 years, okay? In the next 4 years, because these guys are seniors. So when they're juniors getting ready for the NFL draft, if you have all 4 of these wide receivers and your offense is untouchable, there should probably be one championship in the next 4 years if Ryan Day's going to be a legendary coach. I think it's totally possible for Ohio State because they have better weapons than Alabama. Their quarterbacks are better than A&M. They have the best offense in college football from a recruiting standpoint, okay, with Devin Brown, with C.J. Stroud, Smith and Jigba. Over the next 4 years, they're going to have the best offense in college football, which is a huge deal. It's just in terms of Jim Knowles being able to pair that defense together. You look at Drew Aller, who could be a special player from Penn State, and Drew Aller can be special, and maybe Penn State could steal a game from Ohio State because Drew Aller is just that special. But Michigan State's going to be a solid team. Michigan, with all the Harbaugh drama, I don't see them competing again with Ohio State in the next few years. I really do not. Even though it was a big win for Jim Harbaugh, I think that he reached the ceiling of where he can take Michigan, and losing Josh Gaddis is going to prove to be pivotal. You look at Minnesota, who's a solid team. I don't know if they can catch Ohio State in the next 4 years. I think Minnesota will win the West, though, and will compete with an Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. I don't know if their defense can hold Ohio State's offense down, but running the football, Minnesota is really good in the trenches. Minnesota is really proving to be, I think, I know Wisconsin's very good in Iowa. I think Minnesota's going to rise in the West, and then I've been waiting for Frost to make Nebraska compete in the West for a while. So it's possible Nebraska with Mickey Joseph and the transfers they're getting can really compete in the West, because I view Wisconsin and Iowa, they're going to stay 8-4 and be solid, but do they have that upside potential that Nebraska and that Minnesota have? Purdue's going to have a very good year with Aiden O'Connell, but that could be an outlier as well. But it's so interesting to think about Ohio State in this context. You have all of these receivers. You have Brandon Inniss that has a 10-minute highlight tape. I mean, so we just described his route running, his ability to catch the ball deep. This is only him as a 15, 16-year-old sophomore. So Ohio State is absolutely loaded for this class. It's an unbelievable class. I view Rodgers really highly, Bryson Rodgers. I think he's the most underrated receiver in the country. Noah Rogers is one of the best punt returners, such an explosive athlete, can literally have 5 guys chasing him, ready to make a tackle, and he could break all 5 tackles. He's the home run threat. He's the most talented receiver in the class, just from a pure athletic standpoint, is Noah Rogers out of North Carolina. Bryson Rogers is the best wide receiver in terms of route running in the country. Okay, he's the best route runner. And then you have this guy who tracks the deep ball probably better than anybody, who you could put him in the slot from day one, and he's like a Chris Olave prototype. And then I didn't even get to Carnell Tate, because Carnell Tate, you got to watch like a lot of YouTube highlights of Carnell Tate. So one of these guys, I mean, again, might look to transfer and be a number one, make a ton of money at like Alabama, maybe go out to USC. There's going to be a lot of options here for these Ohio State guys, so you have to watch them. But I give them credit. All 4 of them commit. They're not afraid of competition. They're going to get better in camp. Hartline's a stud, Corey Dennis, and then Ryan Day. I got to give him so much credit, because replacing Urban Meyer, who's a legend, who's one of the greatest coaches in college football history, that is incredibly difficult to do. He's on a really good trajectory right now, Ryan Day, with how he's recruiting, how this offense rolls, and now you have Jim Knowles coming into the fold. I think the defense can get better, but that's the next step for this team.